we really do try to make sure that we're bringing on the right kind of partner within the right industry where we know they're going to see success. We want to bring value to that business in every business that we work with, and it's really important to us. Well, I'm a firm believer in traditional loyalty programs. I think that for different reasons across all generations, loyalty programs motivate in different ways and can motivate with the right message and the right offer to those different generations. A loyalty program is not a one-stop shop. We need a different level of engagement, communication, promotional offers, et cetera, for different generations. And they need those rewards sooner for some generations, as I mentioned, and others are willing to continue to spend and build up their balance.
This show is brought to you by Comarch, the global loyalty partner trusted by enterprise brands in over 50 countries. With more than 30 years of experience and 290 million loyalty members on board, Comarch knows what it takes to build real connections that last. Their AI-powered tools turn data into action and customers into superfans. From fraud-proof platforms to personalized journeys, Comarch helps you boost engagement, grow revenue, and make loyalty your competitive edge. Want to see how they do it? Head over to comarch.com and discover loyalty that actually works.
Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Loyalty and Loyalty TV, a show for loyalty marketing professionals. I'm Paula Thomas, the founder and CEO of Let's Talk Loyalty and Loyalty TV, where we feature insightful conversations with loyalty professionals from the world's leading brands. Today's episode is part of the Wiser Loyalty series and is hosted by Aaron Epiphany, Chief Marketing and Business Development Officer of the Wise Marketeer Group. The Wise Marketeer Group is a media, education and advisory services company, providing resources for loyalty marketeers through the Wise Marketeer digital publication and the Loyalty Academy program that offers the Certified Loyalty Marketing Professional or CLMP designation. I hope you enjoyed this episode brought to you by Let's Talk Loyalty and Loyalty TV in partnership with the Wise Marketeer Group.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of the Wiser Loyalty podcast series. This series continues to be brought to you in partnership between Let's Talk Loyalty and the Wise Marketer. And I guess we're now closing in almost 2 years of producing loyalty conversations together. So for those of you who don't know me by now, I am your host, Aaron Epiphany. I am the CMO of the Wise Marketer Group. And my business partner, Bill Hannafin, who's the CEO of WMG. And I started, I guess it was in 2024, sharing our insights on loyalty constructs and topics that were really inspired by one of the core courses in our Loyalty Academy's Certified Loyalty Marketing Professional Curriculum. And then in 2025, we graduated from this kind of academic focus in our conversations to begin seeking out insights from other practitioners of the trade. And so those include people who are in our own CLMP community from our academic curriculum, as well as those who are leading from the C-suite, as we like to position it. So now twice a month, we bring you an interview with a C-level executive or a CLMP who has really transformed strategy into practical application and then really generated strong business results from customer loyalty. And I have to tell you, today is no exception as we bring our spotlight on the President of RMG Loyalty, Kate Booth. Welcome, Kate.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, our pleasure. I'm excited about today's conversation. So RMG Loyalty is nearing on its, 25th anniversary, I believe. And it specializes in loyalty solutions and management of programs. Kate has been instrumental in creating successful customer programs, both consumer and small business, for their clients at RMG, and has moved from leading business development into a full partner role. And now she is the president alongside Claudio Rodriguez, who's the CEO, and both of them are very well known in Canada's loyalty circles. While most of you may not know RMG Loyalty as a brand, you certainly will know the Air Miles and the More Rewards program brands as two coalition programs in Canada. The first, of course, being the largest everyday spend coalition, for which RMG built and operated the small business program for many years. And then the second is the More Rewards program, which is the leading regional program in the province of British Columbia, although it does extend beyond there, And that particular coalition program is anchored by businesses owned and operated by Canadian business magnate Jim Pattison. So grocery chains such as Save On Foods, Urban Fare, Price Smart Foods. It also has the Jim Pattison Auto Group in it. And then what RMG has done is extended the partnerships into Expedia Travel, Panago Pizza. The Royal Bank of Canada has a Visa product, Coast Hotels, and then a bevy of small businesses from various commercial categories. Think things like plumbing, pools and patios, pest control, all that type of thing. So hopefully I've done this intro justice, Kate, but is there anything specifically that I missed or that you'd like to add?
No, I think we've been working in partnership with the More Rewards program to bring on strategic partners at the SMB level. Obviously, their team has done a brilliant job in bringing on the likes of Expedia Travel and growing and expanding the partnership with RBC. So our partners are really excited for what's to come with those partnerships, as everyone loves a double dip or an opportunity to earn additional points with every transaction. So yeah, it's been quite the wild ride of loyalty over the last 25 years, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
Isn't it crazy to be saying like 20, 25 years? It seems like we just met each other just the other day, but here we are.
Yeah,
It's amazing. So
yeah, for sure.
I know you, Kate, and but others don't. And so one of the things that we do when we're on Let's Talk Loyalty for the team of podcasters is we first start by asking our guests one simple question, just to kind of set the stage a little bit about where your head's at and what you're thinking and where your mindset is going. And so we ask the question, what book are you reading currently and why, or what's the most fruitful takeaway that you have from it so far?
Yeah, sure. So always reading, because my brain's always going at night, especially. So I use books to calm me down and get back to sleep, I guess. But Claudio, my business partner, has always wanted to send some really great business books. So the one that I'm tackling right now is The Science of Scaling. So Science of Scaling, Grow Your Business Bigger and Faster Than You Think Possible. So it's by Benjamin Hardy and Blake Erickson. And it's really the simplicity of exactly that, is setting impossible goals, setting impossible timelines, and really just making sure that your business and your team isn't stagnant. And I think it's something that I live by every day, and so does Claudio. And the joke is, let's run with scissors, and we'll figure it out as we go. And bringing in all of our knowledge and experience and enthusiasm to bring value to our partners and to our team members. And so it's really just narrowing in on setting those goals and making sure that that they're wild and audacious goals. So
yeah, big, hairy, audacious goals, as we used to beg back in the day, for sure.
Exactly.
Oh, I love that. That's, it's another way of reframing. You're gonna have to send me that book because I'd be certainly interested in. I know business partner Bill would be interested in reading that as well too. So that great suggestion. I'm glad you opened with that. Why don't we hop into the conversation a bit more that's specific to loyalty and for loyalty marketers? So at the Wise Marketer Group, we tend to focus a lot on customer loyalty, particularly from the consumer perspective. And so two things kind of here. First, I have a personal interest in given my background with small business research for over many, many years, to talk more about small business owners. And then second, of course, B2B marketing and small business programs have been really hotting up over the past couple of years. So, but you were early days on building and operating a very successful SMB program for what was once a Canadian loyalty juggernaut, Air Miles. So let's start there. Talk to us about the gap that you saw like nearly 2 decades ago and how you filled the void for Air Miles.
yeah, for sure. So back in 2009, my business partners then, Brad and Claudio, who had previously worked at the Air Miles program, approached the Air Miles team, of which I was a part of, and wanted to explore an SMB program specifically around their Air Miles for Business and Air Miles bonus card program. So essentially a gift card of Air Miles. And so we came on board and started building out an SMB coalition, focusing on specific categories and coming in as a loyalty program expert, helping businesses to build out coalition loyalty programs, whether it be for their own team or working with other businesses within the program itself, to help bring brand awareness, to help motivate consumer awareness and education on products or services or different businesses, and then how they can use the program to really motivate that change in behavior that they're looking for to help support their business goals. So over the last 2 decades, the program, like a loyalty program, has been leveraged in many, many different ways. especially for SMB. But I think the biggest point to make is that a lot of small businesses don't understand that a big coalition loyalty program is available to them to leverage. They don't know how to use it necessarily, or when they do have it, what to do with those data points and how to learn from the stories that a loyalty program brings them and how to properly market it. And so that's something that our team has done over the last 20 plus years with loyalty programs and SMBs in Canada. And we bring, incredible value being an outsider. So we come in as a trusted advisor on loyalty, and we help them build out a program that is going to best support their business goals for the next few years and help them execute it. So we don't come in, turn on a program and say, good luck.
Right. Yeah. Here's the keys. Have fun.
Yeah, right. Yeah, enjoy driving that. We work with them. So we have an incredible client services team, and our leadership team is brought in and out of different relationships to make sure that we're asking the right questions, we're providing the right service, because small business owners are wearing 14 different hats at any given time. And loyalty is one of those building blocks. You have to continue to nurture it and continue to build on it for customers to respond and respond repeatedly. So our team does that. We come in and help guide them through the loyalty program experience.
I love that trusted advisor angle is so incredibly important, and to be able to help manage in this, behemoth of an organization that is Air Miles and what it had become, certainly makes sense in terms of being a differentiator to make SMBs programs or the use of the program that much stronger for them and actually applicable. So let's continue down that, because that's intriguing to me. Obviously, my background, and I love talking about SMBs. So in your opinion, what's the one or two critical differences for loyalty marketers that they just absolutely need to understand between consumer loyalty and, say, SMB loyalty programs? I guess I'm asking, for your expertise on what pitfalls they should avoid, because oftentimes, consumer loyalty specialists get handed over to an SMB program. It's not that they're designing an SMB program from scratch. It's an extension of the consumer program. So, what's that look like? What's the one or two differences? And then, does that differ by industry in your opinion?
Oh, yeah. So we'll start there. It totally differs by industry. So we build out programs. We use a currency. So we used the Air Miles currency. We are using the More Rewards currency to help build out an in-house loyalty program for an SMB.
Very good.
For the differences between rewarding a customer versus rewarding on the B2B side, differs depending on whether they're selling a product or a service, differs depending on who they're talking to. There are some generations who like their rewards right away. They want to make sure that they're actually getting that value right off the bat. And others, you can grow with them and build that loyalty with a rewards program. So how you're speaking to your customers, whether you've got a big brand or you are an SMB and you're trying to build your brand awareness, a loyalty program can do brilliant things to do that. So you take the reputation of Air Miles, you take the reputation of Jim Pattison and the More Rewards program with Save on Foods. Those reputations are what these SMBs hang their hat on, right? So they are associating themselves with a brand that has that, that stamp of approval to be working with the SMBs and really bring awareness to those businesses. When rewarding customers versus SMBs, couple of things that marketers really need to be aware of is the frequency of transaction.
Okay.
So with customers, there could be, if you're doing a B2C program, the frequency of transaction, especially with the businesses that we work with, could be a daily transaction all the way up to I'm buying a car. And so I'm not buying a car every day, right? So how are you going to continue to engage with that customer without selling them something every single time? You want to reward them for a behavior. You want to reward them for a survey completion. You want to reward them for a referral. And a loyalty program can do exactly that, and keeping your community connected and ensure that your brand is top of mind. When you're rewarding a B2B, like an SMB, and you're working within that B2B space, normally you're looking at a higher transaction frequency, and there's lots of different things that you can do within the B2B space. And that was something that we actually learned quite quickly when we were working with the Air Miles program, is just how incredibly motivating a rewards program actually is when working with SMBs and
Okay.
B2B partners. Because their frequency is so high, because there's an opportunity to increase share of wallet, because the spend is higher than if you were working with a customer. And so looking at how the program is supposed to function and then using it appropriately, don't just turn it on and say,
Right. Right.
okay, the loyalty program's supposed to do its thing. It's not going to, and it's going to be a waste of your money. You need to use it. And Claudio uses this example all the time about a gym membership. You can get a gym membership, but unless you actually go to the gym, it's not waiting for you.
Right.
So you have to use the program and work with our team to actually build it out, because we're here to guide businesses through the loyalty program experience, whether it is a B2C or a B2B program.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Let's talk a little bit about, some things that we always hear in the boardrooms over the years, that take the form of a small business owner, and some common comment really is like, quote unquote, business owners are really just consumers at the end of the day. So they will always reward themselves first, end quote. Like I heard a little bit of that in what you said, but then also I heard something completely away from that. So, do you feel like that is true? Is it all about the small business owner first, or, what's been your experience in seeing how SMBs utilize a program currency to reward themselves, reward employees, reward customers? Like what's that look like? Talk us.
Yeah. So business owners are especially savvy ones. They're always going to be looking for a way to reduce their costs or increase their reward or whatever it might be. And again, they're wearing multiple hats. So they could be running the business, but then they could also be, the top salesperson at the company, right? So how the program is being used, and this is something that we always used to say with air miles, especially with the credit card and double dipping, or with more rewards in the RBC program right now, and double dipping on points. So the opportunity to earn from a rewarding partner or an earn partner, and then earn again with, the preferred credit card. So business owners are going to be finding different ways for them to earn as well. And if they're smart, they're going to use those points to reward their employees, or they're going to reduce operational costs or whatever it might be.
But back into the business then. Interesting. Sorry, back into the business then. Interesting.
Yeah, you got it. So, and that's something that we normally recommend they do, is literally turn around and say, okay, how can I motivate my team with these points? Or what could I get for the lunchroom that's going to be exciting? Or could I set up a sales incentive that's going to motivate my team, and points would be the reward, or, some kind of redemption would be the reward. So, business owners, they work tirelessly to build their business, right? And so they should be rewarded. And there are lots of different ways that we can help them do it. They're, a lot of them have blinders on because they're just trying to get through every day. And our team, I think, does a really great job of bringing them different ideas as to how they can reward themselves by bringing that loyalty program into the mix, by promoting and marketing it properly, and rewarding the team to motivate them to actually do the job they've been hired to do. Which in turn rewards the business.
That makes sense. I love that you're taking them along the journey and helping them as again, that trusted advisor terminology. And maybe let's talk a little bit about the setup. So, 20 years ago, business owners would look at the cost of setting up and developing their own program, for their customers, and they would say, oh, this is crazy. It's too many pennies out of my own pocket, so to speak, right? So with utilizing an existing currency like air miles or rewards, that makes more sense because they don't have that infrastructure costs, and they do get the halo effect of association that you talked about. But, with more and more like loyalty technology providers really enabling an SMB component to existing programs, are we far from off in the future where SMBs will want to build and operate their own independent, unique program, or is it best, in your opinion, and maybe you're a bit biased because you run these two large programs, that they utilize an existing currency? Like what are the trade-offs in those scenarios?
Yeah, for sure. So we've worked with lots of different businesses of different sizes. And I remember years ago when I, like in the early stages of Air Miles, working with a big national brand, and they were evaluating going with a third-party loyalty program like Air Miles versus doing their own in-house program. And so worked with them to build that out and kind of point out what some of the pros and cons would be of that. One of the biggest ones that they kind of scared them off, actually two of the biggest ones, one was the liability. So in the in-house loyalty program, you have to hold the liability of any points that are out in market unredeemed.
Right.
And that could be a big number, especially if you're talking about an Air Miles program, or you're talking about a really big national banner with, thousands of customers. And so that's one of the biggest pieces that deterred them. The second piece was actually understanding what to do with the data. And
What?
unless they had someone in-house that was going to properly read and find the stories from that data, they weren't actually going to be getting anything from it.
Right,
So
right.
you can reward a customer with a point, but what are you going to be doing to speak that language at the right time to bring that customer back, so that you can retain that loyalty and retain that customer spend? So there are definite pros and cons to a company building their own. It's whether they're willing to essentially build out an entire team to manage it.
Right. Which when you're a small business owner, as you rightly pointed out earlier, like you're wearing multiple hats, often you are the one that does that. And if this is now going to be taking away more of your time to either do the analytics so that you can induce the behavior changes that you want, or talking with your finance person because you've now got to manage this liability that is like outstanding and affecting how you report your income to, the government and things like that. Yeah, that probably makes sense to have that almost shifted and outsourced in terms of utilizing someone else's currency, both for those larger mid-sized programs you talked about right through to SMB level. So, okay, that makes sense.
That's like from like an operational perspective,
Right.
from a brand perspective or a motivating and spend perspective. An SMB wants to use a third-party program. And the reason being is that they get to piggyback on the reputation of that program, that brand. And like, think about Air Miles, think about More Rewards. They're in Save on Foods. They're a Jim Pattison brand. They are hugely reputable in Western Canada, and they are at everyone's dinner table every night because of their grocery store presence, right? And so that is a trusted brand. That is a trusted program. So for a roofer, for example, an SMB roofer, to have the stamp of the More Rewards program on their website, it brings their brand credibility. And essentially tells More Rewards customers that they should be doing business with that roofing company. So that kind of credibility is hugely important because you look at different businesses as you're evaluating who I should go with. A roof can be quite expensive.
Yes.
Look at which one has the best ratings, the best prices, and who's actually going to be rewarding me with not only a great service and product, but also with some kind of a rewards currency. I'm not doing my roof, just like not buying a car. I'm not doing my roof very often. And so for companies within SMB space that don't have high frequency, you really do want to have a program where your customers are going to be earning from lots of different businesses within the coalition, because then you can increase their frequency of earn. And then they're going to be getting to that reward that much faster. The points are going to be more relevant to the customer, and they're going to be they'll be more motivated by that currency because they have the opportunity to earn in more places. But if a SMB has their own rewards program, they're going to run out of reasons as to why they should be rewarding their customers, and it's not going to be frequent enough to actually motivate a change in behavior.
I love that. Let's continue now on that idea of partnerships, because that's really the expertise that RMG also brings to the table, and shift gears slightly to move back into consumer loyalty. Pardon me. So the More Rewards program is, for those who don't know, is anchored in British Columbia, with the leading grocery chain that you mentioned. And then you've created a very bespoke set of earning partners that are predominantly BC first minded, I'd say. I lived in Vancouver, so I know Panago is the Western pizza chain as an example. But talk to us a little bit about how this opportunity arose for you. Like, how did you come to create these partnerships for this coalition program?
Well, we have an amazing team that's in market, recognizing different industries that we've had success with in the past. So we've recognized those industries that, are a higher frequency of transaction or a higher spend, where customers are evaluating and comparing different companies, and where they could be using a currency to really motivate a change either in behavior or spend or both.
Okay.
So our team really goes out focused on specific categories based on the seasonality of their business, brings them, the solution of a loyalty program, and works with them to build out a bespoke program or a customized program based on their business goals. So within the partnership size that we work with, we predominantly work with SMBs. We have companies that are in home services, home builders. We have real estate, we have legal firms, we have healthcare, we have spas and gyms. So we work with a bunch of different partners that are leveraging a third-party rewards program.
Right.
And how they use that is dependent on what their goals are and how apt they are to work with us to build it out. Like I said earlier, the more they leverage the program, the more they work with us, the better their program performs and the better the results that they get out of their customers. So we really do try to make sure that we're bringing on the right kind of partner within the right industry where we know they're going to see success. We want to bring value to that business in every business that we work with. And it's really important to us that we're working with the right partner and are able to be that trusted advisor throughout.
Yeah, the partnership mix is always critical, right? Like sometimes you think that it would make sense, but then in fact, when you get down to actual operations, there's a values misalignment or there's an expectation misalignment in terms of what success looks like and different definitions like that. And certainly, I'll leverage your loyalty expertise for a quarter of a century here. Plus, the coalition loyalty model has really shifted on the national stage in Canada. We have a Scene Plus now, one of the larger coalition programs, which is a lifestyle program. Aeroplan, which was for Air Canada, has evolved into more of a frequent flyer positioning again, and with kind of a tacked on partner program. So more rewards is everyday spend categories is the leading sector, if you will, or industry that's anchoring that program. And then, as you said, you put a bevy of partners around it, and then extending the SMB. Just in your opinion, overall, for more rewards versus air miles, let's focus on more rewards. It effectively is still a fairly traditional mindset in terms of coalition of everyday spend. So, what's the secret sauce out west? Why is it working there and not on the national stage, in your opinion?
Yeah, well, I'm a firm believer in traditional loyalty programs. I think that for different reasons across all generations, loyalty programs motivate in different ways and can motivate with the right message and the right offer to those different generations. So I am a firm believer in a traditional partnership model, which More Rewards is, which Air Miles used to be, what Scene used to be. And there's been some incredible shifts. Like Scene Plus, that was a brilliant business move. What they did.
I agree.
Yeah. And I think that kind of a shift, I think, is something that was huge for and impacted not only their businesses as owners, but for the loyalty industry across Canada. We're very different from the US. In the US, there's a lot of programs that are in-house, loyalty currencies that you only earn at one retailer. We had a huge list of different traditional loyalty programs, and they've shifted to be more data-driven, to be more card-link offer-driven.
Yes.
And I think that there's an opportunity for us to swing the pendulum back more towards a traditional partnership model to show, and this is what More Rewards does, to show the level of support at the community level. I think that is something that More Rewards does brilliantly, is that they bring themselves right into the community. They support so many youth, sports leagues and community events, and they're always there. Their stores do an incredible job of barbecues and really connecting with their community, not only with the residents, but also with the business owners as well. And I think that's where these bigger loyalty programs are going to come back to, or may want to consider coming back to, because that's where people are wanting to spend their money, especially now. They're wanting to spend with Canadian-owned businesses. Yes. And that's where, even if it might cost them a little bit more, or they might have to drive a little bit further, they're going to be spending their dollars with a Canadian business. And so something that, again, More Rewards is doing a great job of in working with Canadian businesses and really trying to drive Western Canada collectors, members, shoppers to those banners. Is something that we're helping to grow. So we're working with them to build out their traditional coalition loyalty program, and bring on more partners where their customers are going to be able to earn. So, I think in Western Canada, it's always been very strong in being motivated by a loyalty program. And, there's so many different things that a customer can get from, flights to special events to electronics, whatever it is. And if you're earning at a grocery store consistently, where most people are spending most of their dollars every week, you're going to get to a reward really fast. So,
absolutely right.
Having that more rewards program front and center within the grocery store and actually advertised in the grocery store is really important for a successful loyalty program. You have to have grocery as a pillar partner.
Yeah, I love that.
They have to be promoting it, and that's what More Rewards does a great job doing.
I love that. And the other thing I pick up on as you were speaking there is this idea of loyalty's heritage. And it really is true because in Canada, a bastion for coalition types of constructs over the 30 plus years that it's been in market. Yeah. But when we even think about air miles, like its heritage began out west with, Safeway being the predominant grocer before any of the grocers in the eastern part of the country came on board. Shell was very strong out west. Bank of Montreal was the bank of choice, is kind of the three pillars that were coming into play. And from there, Western Canadians really do have a mindset of I can get more faster, quicker with a multitude of partners in mind, and that credit card for that double down. Double dipping, whichever terminology you want to utilize. And so, they have that mindset. So when, things faltered a little bit, maybe at the national scale, certainly looking to a regional program that specifically then got into the hearts and communities at a local level, that's a nice nut to crack, I think. So kudos, very well done. I know we're getting close to our time here. I do want to, before asking my final question, open the floor a little bit to you to say, is there anything you'd like to add on? Is there anything, in this conversation that we've missed as a key learning or insight for loyalty marketers that you'd like to share?
I touched on it earlier. I think one of the biggest pieces that loyalty marketers need to remember is that it's not a loyalty program is not a one-stop shop. We need a different level of engagement, communication, promotional offers, et cetera, for different generations. And they need those rewards sooner for some generations, as I mentioned, and others are willing to continue to spend and build up their balance. So I would say it's just making sure that in thinking about how to structure a loyalty program and how to best leverage that currency, it's going to have to be in segments based on different demographics and different generations to make sure that the program is working as hard as it possibly can for them. The other thing is don't just sit back and let it do its thing. It's not going to do that. One would always hope that it would, but it's really fun to see the results that you can get from different promotions. So test it out, try different promotions, different bonus offers, different messaging and how it's being positioned, because the results are really interesting and there's tons to learn from it. So, yeah.
Yeah, you can't sit and forget. It needs to be nurtured along the way. I love that. That's a great insight for sure. So Bill and I like to end our conversations with a final thought from our guests. So can you share for us all one example? It can be either from your personal or your professional life, doesn't matter. But really what we're looking for is a bit of an epiphany moment. So one moment where you just thought, this is exactly why customer loyalty works. Here's my example.
Well, that's a good question.
Thank you.
So yeah, well done. So I would say, so years ago, so I was working with a large hearing clinic group years ago, hearing health program. And we had done a trial, which we very rarely did with Air Miles, because the program had such incredible strength. But working with a big national banner, they had done discounts in the past, and they really wanted to make sure that the decision that they were making was going to be right. And I started the program, launched it all. We designed it, was working with a fantastic team, and we started to see just phenomenal results, and we were blown away. And I had always thought that they were going to do a combination program of discount and a loyalty currency.
Okay.
To give the customers the choice to choose between either of them. And one day in the meeting room with the CEO, who was he still is an amazing guy, not at the company anymore, but an amazing guy. We went through the results and he was like, nope, you know what? We're going to jump in with both feet. And we're just going to do loyalty. And that was one of those moments where I was like, I'm not going to sit back and watch a company give the choice of discount versus a program, because the power of a loyalty currency far outweighs a discount, because anyone can do it. And any business, any of your competitors can offer a discount, but not everyone is going to put in the time and effort to promote and reward with a currency that's going to have that level of impact on the consumer that a CEO is going to jump both feet in and be totally game to see what other results we have. And that partnership went on for over 10 years. It was amazing.
Amazing.
Did a brilliant job with the program, and obviously we're a complete joy to work with, but they really gave me that insight and confidence to go back to other businesses who had asked for a choice model. And it gave me rationale as to why they really want to jump in. And it goes back to the point of, you can't just set it and forget it. You've got to jump into and really make the loyalty program work, because the harder you ask it to work, the better it's going to do for you.
I like that. Make the program work, and the harder you ask it to work, the better it's going to do. That's probably a great way to end this conversation. Kate Booth, thank you so much for taking the time. We appreciate it very, very much. It was a pleasure speaking with you as always, and we look forward to watching the success of the More Rewards program and what RMG Loyalty does next. So thanks again.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Awesome. We'll talk soon.